Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Danville, Pittsylvania County Chamber of Commerce annual membership meeting. We are thrilled that you have chosen to join us this morning. We're sorry we can't be together as we were last year. I think there were approximately 250 of us downstairs at the Institute where we were able to kick off the new year. And boy, we did not know what 2020 was going to bring us. And I couldn't be more proud of our chamber and our community and how we've responded in this last year. So I welcome you this morning. A reminder that we are recording and streaming on Facebook Live. You are welcome to turn your video off if you choose. I would ask that everyone please mute yourselves so that we don't have background noise during the presentations this morning. I'd like to thank this morning's sponsors. First Citizens Bank is our signature sponsor this morning, and we are extremely grateful for their investment in the chamber, their service on our board of directors, and the many other ways they engage. We're also thankful for our event sponsor, Janet Hawley, broker with Hawley and Gibson Realty Company. Janet, thank you and your leadership on our board and in this community. So thank you to our sponsors. Finally, I'd like to thank Letterpress Communications. They are a wonderful firm that we work with and a proud chamber member. They have put together the videos that you're going to see throughout our program this morning. So we are very grateful to their the excellent work that they do every day. So thank you to Letterpress Communications. And finally, we're going to get started this morning. So again, welcome.
The Chamber of Commerce has opened up so many wonderful opportunities that I would have never had access to without being a member.
Being part of the Chamber allows us many opportunities for networking, for understanding what's going on in the communities.
The Institute is a proud member of the Chamber of Commerce because it gives us access to all the programs that they do.
The Chamber staff has been invaluable with helping us find opportunities for how we can make more business.
As a member of the Chamber, I think having access to so many learning opportunities has been really incredible.
Averett loves to be an innovation partner with the Chamber. Our name just gets out all over the business community by partnering with the Chamber.
Good morning, everybody. This is Alan Larson. Want to add my welcome that Alexis shared to joining us this morning. As the immediate past chair, I want to begin by recognizing our 2020 innovation partners. We have several that are part of the commitment to keeping the Chamber a viable part of our community. And you see their names and logos up on the screen. We thank you, each of you, for your sponsorship and investment in the Chamber and its mission. We're grateful for your commitment, both in finances and time, to the work and the mission of the Chamber. We also have media sponsors that we have benefited from this past year, and thankful for their support and recognition of their efforts that they do for the Chamber. We want to thank you for your continued investment in the Danville, Pittsylvania Chamber of Commerce. As we hope you know, an investment in the Chamber is an investment in the Danville River region. Our focus has always been on the economic growth of our region, our businesses of all sizes, and this is only been heightened by the economic and public impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. At the Chamber, we're proud of our short and long-term responses to the pandemic and how we have focused our continued recovery and success. Since March of 2020, when we met last, the Chamber has been involved in several things. First, we've offered several no-cost webinars focused on the most critical issues for businesses, including CARES Act funding, health and local government updates, and key issues facing employers. We've served as a proud member of the Southern Virginia COVID-19 Task Force, convened by the Southern Virginia Regional Alliance, which aims to provide the most up-to-date regulatory, legal, and economic information available to our businesses. We've provided accurate, timely information and expertise shared in a variety of platforms related to both the economic and public health aspects of this crisis. In partnership with the Dan River Region Entrepreneur Ecosystem, partnered on awarding the Community Foundation's COVID-19 emergency funds, which provided micro grants to 20 small businesses in the region and kept them going. We convened a series of sector-based roundtables, the Manufacturing Executive Council and Innovation Hour, all focused on making meaningful connections with your peers in the business community to discuss the most pertinent issues and solutions pertaining to the pandemic. We've promoted our members in multiple platforms, letting our community know that you remained open and for business during this pandemic. We've facilitated access to a multitude of local, state, and federal resources and connections. And finally, we've advocated for legislation on behalf of our members with state and federal elected officials related to the CARES Act and more. Wearing my other hat as president of Sova Health, I want to say thank you for the tremendous support the hospital has received from the business community. We have received dinners from many different restaurants, cookies and snacks from many different organizations, parades, and parking lot vigils, sidewalk chalk art, signs, prayers, and much more. Thank you does not seem enough, but it comes sincerely. This virus has taken a whopping toll on our world in lives and economic setbacks. As Virginians, we have lost almost 7,000 souls from this virus. In Danville and Pittsylvania County alone, we have lost 140 souls. That's twice the number of participants on this Zoom call this morning. It saddens me to hear people deny the validity of the virus, the need to wear masks, or the efficacy of the vaccine. We are well underway in a heartwarming collaborative effort for community vaccination events in our community. We have developed a partnership model that works. Now we just need more vaccines. This crisis has presented significant challenges to our community, but our community is resilient and we will come out of this stronger. Your chamber remains committed to serving you now and into the future. Here's to our continued recovery and to a brighter 2021 and the future. I want to turn the time over now to Linda Green to talk a little bit about a unique partnership the Chamber has participated in on a Bridge to Recovery grant. Linda?
Thank you so much, Alan. I appreciate everything that you and Alexis Earhart and the Danville, Pittsylvania County Chamber have done to support this effort. I want to tell you all a little bit about how the task force formed. The Southern Virginia Regional Alliance was in a meeting, and this was comprised of the economic developers across this region in February of 2020. And unanimously agreed to start a task force to address the COVID needs across the region. But in doing so, we recognized that we needed a stronger outreach method. And so we immediately reached out to the chambers across the area to see if they would join with us in an alliance to both fight against COVID-19 in our area, but also to aid companies in the recovery as best we could. Alexis immediately stepped up to the table with representing your chamber, and I'm pleased to say that just the Southern Virginia Regional Alliance, when you unite the power of the chambers, included 1,996 member businesses. So when you think about how your power grows exponentially in the chamber as you're speaking up or making a difference, Alexis stepping to the table that day to represent you all is a good example of how you have power together. At this point, 16 chambers of commerce, 12 local economic developers, and both plan and district commissions have all joined into this effort. Then we joined forces with Go Virginia Region 3's entire area. So the Virginia Growth Alliance to the east of us joined, and we applied for a grant through Go Virginia Region 3 for their economic resiliency and recovery monies, and received $925,000 in funding for our region. That's incredibly important because these chambers were working together with Alexis at the table every week on a Monday call to see how we could move this forward. This task force did surveys, they did news blasts of things that would help everybody across the area. We created a website of pandemic recovery resources together that could be shared on each chamber's site. And then with the funding from Go Virginia Region 3, we're able to take it a step further. An example of some of the things that they do collectively, this Thursday or tomorrow, you would have gotten a notice for a program on vaccinations where the health district directors from both regions, both an operations manager and a medical director, will take the reign along with an employment and labor expert to talk about what you as businesses can do to support your employees in vaccinations. When you do that, what are the liabilities that you should be aware of? Those type issues. This has happened on a daily sometimes and often weekly basis, that they shared their resources to make sure that their companies were enriched. With the Bridge to Recovery money, we established a supplier network, and that's pre-qualified suppliers that offer support to businesses for COVID recovery. We were expecting to identify about 25 businesses across the region, was our original estimate over a 2-year period. Already we have 55 pre-qualified suppliers who have stepped up in our area, sometimes offering discounts to businesses, always offering either services or assistance to businesses that are in need for COVID recovery. This has been so rich. I wanted to read you just a few of the areas that your business or businesses can apply to be a part of this network. It's areas like companies that are doing modifications and expansions. So if you provide those materials or that kind of assistance. We had companies that did signage, that did gloves, respiratory masks, gowns, barriers, dividers, goggles, face shields, disinfectant, and we had a number of the manufacturers for the disinfectant in the area as well as the distributors for that. Furnitures, fixtures, plexiglass, and installation. But it didn't stop just with the products. It's also companies that provide services that can assist people through the recovery. That might be an upgrade to your telecommunications services. It could be architectural design to help you spread people to stop the spread within your facility. Business continuity and emergency planning. Supplier identification, janitorial and deep clean services that are required to meet the mandates for recovery, e-commerce and web design services, marketing and communications, human resources, accounting and legal, all of those things. If they are COVID related, those suppliers come onto our network. What it does from that point, if businesses apply for assistance and we link them to those suppliers, help them through the process, we actually can do a match payment to that supplier for those services. So the bottom line is that $925,000 award plus the leveraging, which takes it to over $2 million, stays in the region to these companies, thanks to the outreach that the chambers and economic development offices have given. So there is a website for this where you can go on and apply to be a supplier, or you can request assistance for your business if needed. You can go on SVRA.org, Southern Virginia Regional Alliance.org, and there will be a COVID button at the top, and you can get to those pre-qualified listings. Either Alexis or myself can help you. Every application was reviewed by both the Chamber, the Economic Development Office, and SVRA. And from there, if we didn't have the solutions for the companies, we worked together to find another solution in our region. Just a few things. We've had businesses that expanded to support COVID-19 separation and distancing. We've had PPE product creation from some of the companies. We've had companies that install new heaters and systems to keep patrons warm if they were outside dining. We've had high temperature dishwashers added to increase safety and efficacy of the prevention. We've had a health care provider who added a drive-through COVID testing window. Web e-commerce sites to market during the pandemic. So those are just a few examples, but we wanted you to know that you still can sign up to participate in this. So far, we've had 73 companies request assistance and approved 49 of those for a total of $355,000. So there is still funding out there. We encourage any of you who haven't applied to go on, but we wanted to especially thank you all as chamber members. You enrich this outreach greatly and are the reason for part of the success of this program. So thank you so much. Thank you, Alexis and Alan.
Thank you, Linda. That's fantastic news. Good example of, excuse me, partnership and collaboration and how we bring value as a chamber to the community. I want to recognize two outgoing board members at this time. Ms. Shannon Knight from Centra Health has served on the board since 2015, and we appreciate her service. And Christine Stover, who joined us in 2013 and actually served as the chair of the board in 2019. So we thank each of these. If we were in person, we would applaud, but maybe each of you in your own little chairs can applaud and thank Shannon and Christine. Send them a little shout out for their service. For me, probably the greatest thanks I want to give at this point is to Mr. John Settle, as we prepare to induct him as the new chair for 2021. John serves as the executive vice president and president of wealth management at American National Bank. And during my term as chair, has stepped in as chair-elect and covered many meetings that I was unable to attend. So he's had plenty of time to prepare to serve as chair, and I'm confident that under his leadership, the chamber will continue to be viable and successful. So I want to thank John personally for his extra efforts. John has served on the board since 2018, was the treasurer in 2019, and served as the treasurer and chair-elect this last year. So please join me in welcoming John Settle as the incoming chair of the board of the Chamber of Commerce. John, I'll turn it over to you.
Alan, thank you so much. And on behalf of the chamber, I would certainly like to express our sincere thanks to you for your leadership during this past year. You know, Alan had two organizations to lead during what was probably the most challenging year of our lifetimes. And as you know, Alan's the Chief Executive Officer of Sova Health, whose mission is making communities healthier. Now that's a challenging mission in the best of times, but with the onset of the pandemic last year, to say Alan had his hands full would be a tremendous understatement. But in spite of those challenges of his professional role, Alan took the time to serve as chair of the chamber. It was a challenging year for us, but thanks to the support of our members and our staff, our board under Alan's leadership, we made it through 2020 and plan to thrive in our continuing efforts to add value to our community. Alan will continue to serve on the board, and I look forward to his guidance as I assume the role of chair. So Alan, again, just sincere thanks for your selfless service during this tough time. I do want to recognize two of our new board members that have just joined us. We would like to welcome and look forward to working with Kevin Palmer with Infinity Global and Charlie Vaden with Columbia Forest Products. Additionally, I just want to thank the full board for all of their support during the years. Again, many facing unprecedented challenges in their own businesses, but also taking time to ensure that the chamber would thrive during such a tough time. I also want to recognize our staff under the capable leadership of Alexis. They had shown tremendous flexibility and creativity in the face of the pandemic, as you've already heard, and that just shows their dedication and devotion to this community. We do have some new staff members that I would like to welcome. Madison Eads recently joined us as the Director of Member Engagement. Christy Harper is now our membership manager, and Danielle Montague has joined us as a part-time Wealth Equity Fellow. So again, our thanks and welcome to the staff, the new staff. Let's see here. At this point, I would like to turn it over to the staff for a short video.
The Chamber staff has been invaluable with helping us find opportunities for how we can make more business. During this period of time, during COVID-19, I've been here for 2 years, but I've never been through anything that's like this. And I'm seeing that they're able to reach out and connect us with people that we're not normally able to connect with. I think that the membership is invaluable, and it would be a disservice to not be a part of the Chamber.
At this point, I want to turn it over to Melissa Jones. Melissa is a business banker with First Citizens Bank, who is our signature sponsor this morning, and will introduce our keynote speaker.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. First Citizens Bank is very proud to sponsor our annual membership meeting this morning. It goes hand in hand with First Citizens' mission to provide better banking for better lives. We've had ample opportunity to work towards that over the last year. Bank-wide, First Citizens has provided over 23,000 paycheck protection loans to its clients. We're currently working on the second round of that funding and helping our clients obtain forgiveness for those paycheck protection loans as well. So the community is very important to First Citizens Bank. We'd like to say a special thank you to Alexis and her team at the Chamber. As our business community has faced unprecedented challenges over the last year, the Chamber has been here for us and keeping us in touch and informed and educated along the way, and that's been an invaluable service, and we really appreciate that. This morning, it's my personal pleasure to introduce to you our speaker today, Sheree Ann Kelly. Sheree Ann is the head of the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives, representing more than 10,000 industry professionals. The ACCE serves the community via professional development, innovative problem solving, best practices, and industry thought leadership. Previously, Sheree Ann was Senior Vice President of Public Affairs Council and Executive Director of their foundation. During her 16 years at Global Association, she served as Chief Public Affairs Expert and oversaw thought leadership, professional development, consulting, and benchmarking. During her tenure, she opened the Council's first international office in Brussels. Prior roles included positions in government affairs at National Association of Home Builders and on corporate development and corporate relations teams at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Sheree Ann holds an MBA from Georgetown, a Master of Arts in Government from Johns Hopkins, and a Bachelor of Arts from Bucknell University. Currently, industry leadership roles include serving on the executive committee of the World Chambers Federation as a member of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Chamber Committee of 100. She's also a board member of the Engelachef Institute on Comparative Political and Economic Systems and immediate past chair of the Bucknell Institute for Public Policy. Please welcome me in introducing Sheree Ann Kelly. Thank you.
Good morning. It is such a pleasure to be with you all today. It was wonderful to hear so much of the exciting work that you're doing in your community. I talk a lot about the future of chambers of commerce, and not every time do I get the chance to say, you're really lucky to have a forward-leaning chamber sort of at the helm in your community. I think what you'll realize is so much of what I'm going to talk about for the future of chambers is so relevant to what's already happening around you, which is just, I think, like I said, such a great opportunity to be able to sit in front of a group that's already doing so much of this work. But it's a pleasure to be with you all today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the future of chambers of commerce, but to give you a little bit of perspective about what our organization does, we serve as the National Association for Chambers of Commerce. We've got members all across the country as well as in international markets, and we represent chambers from very, very small towns all the way up to some of the largest metropolitan cities as well as state chambers. What we provide are best practices, industry trends. We have staff experts on all kinds of functions, whether it's membership or community development or workforce and talent, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we really try to provide resources and best practices through that team. We offer peer networks where chambers can share ideas with each other. We do professional development, customized training, benchmarking, independent research. We offer 401k and insurance benefits. We do customized consulting. We also offer a credentialing program for chamber executives. So through this pandemic and the economic downturn, what our team realized pretty quickly was that the world was changing even faster than it had been before. And so with that kind of change, we realized chambers of commerce were going to need to change as well. Just the same way that your businesses right now are going through some shifts and pivots and really rethinking how you do things, chambers are doing the same type of work. I mean, chambers of commerce really are sort of small business, and you have to treat them the same way. And so what we realized were there were some core components that chambers of commerce were going to need in order to be successful, not only through the pandemic and the economic downturn, but sort of well beyond that. So normally we have a little bit of time and leeway and runway in order to change, but the reality is the future is here. It's right in front of us, and we don't have a lot of time to make these long, luxurious changes. We really have to pivot and adjust pretty quickly. So as I mentioned, we created some independent new research on the future of chambers, and there are 3 pillars that are critical. And the first pillar is that a Chamber of Commerce's mission really has to be all about community impact. And what that means is it's a higher purpose mission. It can take many forms, one or several of these types of community impact areas, but the mission has to be all about making sure your community and your region are as strong as possible. So it may be economic development, education, workforce and talent, public policy and advocacy work. It might take the form of inclusive and equitable economic growth, maybe small business support or entrepreneurship, but it's really all about the success of the region. And so chambers are becoming less transactional and more transformational. So it's less about selling one more ticket or selling one more publication, and it's more about how can we solve the biggest challenges that our community faces. So being a part of the chamber is all about investing in the health, the future, and the success of your region. It's really all about a North Star. And North Stars are things that really drive people and draw them into the work that you're doing. It's not about wordsmithing a mission statement. And I've spent lots of time with chamber boards that spend hours figuring out, where does a comma go in the mission statement? And is it this word or that word? It's not about mission statements. It's about passion and purpose. And when you've got a really strong community impact mission, that draws people in and that gets people excited to work with you. So what that means for chambers is if they're doing work that doesn't align to the mission, they've got fringe projects, if they're doing these small activities that don't focus in on that core priority, on the community impact, they have to stop doing that. It's when chambers get too involved in these small projects, it dilutes the purpose and it makes it harder to explain the role that the chamber really plays. Now, we work with, as I mentioned, chambers of all sizes, lots of chambers from rural markets, small towns, big cities. The size of the chamber doesn't matter when it comes to community impact. And I'll share some examples throughout the presentation of very small chambers that have really big community impact. So the first pillar was all about mission around community impact. The second pillar is around courageous leadership, and courageous leadership that aligns with that mission. So this is one of the places that I get so excited about when I talk about the future of chambers, is that chambers are taking on this sort of unique and new leadership role within communities. Now, leadership can take many forms. You know, a chamber can be the convener, right? You're bringing all of these disparate and unique voices to the table so that people can have good conversation. But chambers can also be consensus builders. There may be a common idea that we're trying to rally everybody around, and the chamber can take that role. But chambers can also be catalytic leaders. And this is the area that, again, I get really excited about, is when chambers are actually helping to shape the community around them and shape the future of their region. It's interesting with any organization, whether you're a chamber of commerce or a small business, if you find that you're spending too much of your time being reactive, if you're reacting and putting out fires around you or reacting to the environment that you're in, you probably aren't spending enough time in that catalytic leadership category. And that's something to really spend time thinking about. How can we do a better job of being proactive and shaping our environment as opposed to being reactive? So one of the great things we found from our research is that partnerships are even more important now than they were before. And just hearing about some of the partnerships that are already taking place in your community, I know that you get the value. You know, having strategic partners that can help work on the same initiatives that you're trying to accomplish, it helps get more resources to the table, but it also brings buy-in, especially if you have unusual partners who are working on the work with you. That just allows to show it's not just the chamber, it's not just the business community, but maybe we have the health community involved, or maybe we have the religious community at the table. When you bring in those other stakeholders, people start to realize this is something that means a lot to our region and our market. So partnerships are critical. We don't have to go it alone when it comes to leadership. So through the pandemic, we've seen great examples of Chamber of Commerce leadership. We were actually tracking this throughout the entire pandemic, whether it was mask up campaigns to try to get businesses open again. We've seen, as I heard on this call, we've seen great opportunities for bridge grants or bridge loans for small businesses to keep them going, bringing PPE into the equation, making sure everyone's got the right kinds of personal protective equipment. We actually tracked this through a hashtag #ChamberStrong, and there were literally millions of impressions on this campaign to show the role that chambers can play. But we're seeing lots of other opportunities for chambers of commerce to have a leadership role in communities. And one of those areas is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And there are lots of places that chambers can sort of play a role here, whether they're leading or serving as a support within a community. Chambers of all sizes have been hosting events whether it's an event talking about the inclusivity of the neighborhood or inclusivity of local business, or talking about increasing diversity within the supply chain. That's a role that chambers can play. Some chambers are taking it one step further. This is an example from a chamber that brought together lots of stakeholders from the community to discuss what's working, what's not, and how can we improve things so that it's a much more inclusive region. And other chambers are taking it even a step further. This is a very small chamber that decided to host a DEI summit in their community. So again, you're bringing together your community leaders and figuring out how can we do a better job of being an inclusive market. I love this example from Billings, Montana. They actually took DEI and they made it a lens that cuts across everything that they do. So I love the language that they chose here. Open and safe is only a start to recovery, but to be nationally competitive, Billings must be open for all. So they made sure that DEI is something they incorporate into all of their activities. So DEI is one place that chambers are leading. Another is talent and workforce. We know that talent is the inventory that drives a lot of economic development decisions within our communities. And talent is critical for our businesses and for the success of our regions. Just a couple of examples. This is a very small chamber called Arvada. They have Arvada Works. They decided to do a series of small but impactful efforts to try to improve workforce and talent in their community. So they tried to connect youth and adults to work-based learning opportunities. They had a summit where employers could come in and learn about different kinds of training opportunities and make sure they're training their staff for the right kinds of skills. They also did talent pipeline work to make sure that they were showcasing what kinds of industries were going to be the biggest and the hottest in their market. But then they also worked towards getting students to have their post-secondary education opportunities completed. Very small chamber, very big impact around talent. Childcare. This has been a very hot topic in a lot of communities across the country. Access to childcare is a talent issue. Some chambers are doing simple things like creating a childcare database where you can post open childcare locations, and so parents can go online and find those locations. Other chambers are taking a slightly different approach. This is the Missoula Chamber. They decided to conduct a survey of working parents to figure out what are the challenges that they face to getting the right kind of childcare. They used that data in order to figure out what's the average cost of childcare per month and what does that look like as the overall percentage of living expenses. Then they worked with partners in their community to say, how can we build models that would help our working parents really have the right access to the right childcare? They came up with these working models and they were able to implement them across the community. So again, they're solving some of the biggest challenges their community faces. There's one area that chambers of commerce have been getting involved in that I'm really excited about, and it's community health. Community health is really just an up and coming area where chambers are getting engaged. And it sounds like your chamber is doing this already, which is fantastic. What's great about community health is you can define health any way that you want to. It might be obesity or smoking cessation, but it's one of those challenges that impacts so much around our regions. It's a workforce and talent issue. It impacts whether investors want to come in and invest in your community. And it just impacts the overall happiness and well-being of your market. So here's an interesting example. This is from the Longview, Texas Chamber. They gathered stakeholders together from across their market. They had educational institutions, local government representatives. They had faith-based institutions. They all sat down and said, where do we need to prioritize health in our community? And they came up with 5 areas: it's physical health, emotional, financial, career health, and community health. They pooled all of the resources of those various stakeholders, and they combined their research, their innovation, they combined staff entities, and they said, let's build a plan to try to make this better. So all of the stakeholders are engaged, you've got lots of buy-in across the community, and everybody's focused towards the same outcomes. Now, some chambers are getting involved in health areas that you wouldn't historically think a chamber would get engaged in. This is an example from Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. They had a real issue with teen suicide, and nobody's really stepping up to address. And this is a talent challenge, right? These are young workers in our community that are struggling. So the Chambersburg Chamber found other stakeholders in their community, partnered with them, and they created tools and resources that helped to address the mental health challenge that they faced. And what they've been able to see is that the youth suicide rate has declined in their market. What's great is that they were able to fund all of these initiatives through a foundation. So this isn't something that membership dues are paying. They're actually finding funders who can support this work. Another example in Ohio, the opioid epidemic, and this is something that's impacting so many of our communities across the country. They realize this is also a workforce challenge. Oftentimes, a drug problem shows up first in the workplace. So they created an opioid toolkit for employers that answered questions like, what do I do if one of my employees seems to have an opioid problem? What resources are available to them? And they made this information available to employers. So addressing the biggest challenges in your community. So I mentioned catalytic leadership. I love this example from the Greater Chapel Hill Carborough Chamber. They brought together stakeholders from all across their community. And they said, how can we make our community stronger and better? And they wanted to come up with 3 big, bold ideas. Now, when they brought everyone to the table, they actually came up with more than 100 ideas on how they could make their community stronger, but they were able to boil those down to 3 main areas: dramatically more affordable housing, increasing student performance and closing the achievement gap, and accelerating innovation and workforce development. But again, by bringing all of their stakeholders to the table, you get alignment, you build consensus, and everybody realizes this is where we're headed. This is what we need to be successful. So great example of catalytic leadership. So again, our first pillar that was critical is that your mission has to focus on community impact. The second pillar is about courageous leadership. And the third is around business model alignment. The chambers are changing the way they approach sort of their own work and changing the way they fund some of the initiatives that they're doing. So in new business models, and I won't spend a lot of time on this, this is something that chambers spend most of their time thinking about, but you as members probably don't need to spend as much time. But chambers are really trying to think of themselves like a business. Spending more time figuring out how do we chase the mission versus how do we chase the money. So chambers are diversifying their revenue streams, coming up with new ways to fund this mission-based community impact work. And they're doing less around the idea of networking and more about problem solving. Now, as chambers, we are always going to be networking organizations. But again, we're looking at transformational change and improving our regions. So that means, again, solving the biggest problems and challenges that our regions face. So we're not trying to sell networking as much as we're trying to make our communities better and stronger. A lot of chambers are taking advantage of foundation funding. Again, this is a great place to sort of get that funding for mission-based work. We researched this heavily. We know more than 500 chambers across the country that have foundations that help to do this. And you can share the staff between your chamber and your foundation in order to accomplish the goals that you're trying to accomplish. A couple of really interesting examples of chamber foundations doing work across the country. And again, this is sort of that community impact work. This is the Cape May County Chamber Foundation. They offer scholarships. They do leadership development programs in their community, but they also do a Jersey Cape Experience program where they help the visitor experience. They want people who come visit their market to have a really good experience to the point where they want to come back. So they have a training program that, that offers local businesses this sort of experiential learning opportunity. So it's been a very successful effort for Cape May. The Wake Forest Area Chamber Foundation, very small staff, very big impact. They actually run all of their workforce and talent programs through the foundation. They do leadership development, career readiness academies, financial literacy programs, and again, all funded through their foundation. Greater Hamilton, they also have a 501c3 foundation. They fund business facade improvement grants to improve the way that the local downtown looks. They offer business microloans. They do youth leadership and workforce camps. And they also have minority-owned business programs that help in that area as well. One of the other things we've seen in the chamber world that's been really hot lately, as I mentioned, partnerships are big, finding strong partners, but we've also seen a lot of mergers, acquisitions, and alliances. And it's been really interesting to see how big this issue has been through the pandemic, because when resources are lean, it's a great time to see if working with another organization might be helpful, whether it's chambers of commerce coming together or a chamber and an economic development organization. There are just lots of opportunities, again, to find those creative partnerships. So again, those 3 pillars: community impact, courageous leadership, and business model alignment. That's really where the future of chambers are headed. Interestingly, talking about this all across the country, you get really unusual and interesting feedback when you start to talk about the changes that are taking place in chambers of commerce. And one of the things that I hear sometimes from board members or from certain community leaders, they say, what are chambers of commerce doing, getting involved in mental health or DEI? Why don't you stay in your lane? And I think there's no better lane for chambers of commerce than to make their communities the strongest that they can be, whether that's DEI or entrepreneurship or PPE or mental health. All of this really makes our communities be the best resources that we can be for people who live here, who work here, who visit here. We need to be the resource that makes sure the community is strong and has a strong future ahead of it. So there's no better lane than all of the work that can help make community impact so important. So with that, I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate everybody coming to the table to hear about the future of chambers. Again, you've got a really strong chamber in place in your community, and I'm grateful that I got the chance to share some of this research with you. I would be happy to stay in touch, or if you have questions, you can always reach out to me. That's my contact information. My social media platform of choice is LinkedIn if you'd like to connect with me there. But also our organization highlights best practices on all social media platforms. So we're at ACCEHQ, we're everywhere social media is. So again, thanks so much for your time, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
The Chamber of Commerce has opened up so many wonderful opportunities that I would have never had access to without being a member. And through my employment at Averett, it has really opened my eyes to the different talent development and leadership development opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Averett's really big on professional development, and being able to access really unique opportunities through the Chamber has been so wonderful. The Chamber gives me access to the people and the opportunities to create the biggest impact in our community.
Good morning, everyone. Again, thank you so much for being here this morning. I am Alexis Earhart, President and CEO of the Danville, Pittsylvania County Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank Alan and John Settle and our entire board for their unwavering support. A special thank you to Shannon Knight and Christine Stover for their ongoing service over these last several years. Thank you to Linda Green, whose tireless work for our region is frankly unmatched. And a very special thank you to Sheree Ann, not only for being with us this morning, but for the courageous leadership that she exhibits in her role at ACCE. We are extremely fortunate as a chamber to be a member of ACCE and actively engage with the resources and programs that they provide to us on a daily basis. Every day I have the privilege of working with you, our members, who are the businesses and organizations that frankly are the lifeblood of our community. At this time, I'd like to recognize a specific group of our members, our 2021 Innovation Partners. These partners understand and invest in the mission of the Chamber as we aspire to be courageous leaders for the business community in the Dan River region. And they are Sova Health, Caesars Virginia, the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research, American National Bank and Trust Company, Averett University, Dewberry, Blue Ridge Fiber Board, Columbia Forest Products, First Piedmont Corporation, Gateway Health, Intertape Polymer Group, and JTI. Thank you. To each of you with us today, thank you for your continued support of the Chamber. For hundreds of years, chambers of commerce across the country have been focused on creating a climate that's conducive to economic growth, whether through high quality substantive training and development opportunities, access to expertise and information, or effective legislative advocacy. Our focus always has been the success of our region's businesses. Over the course of the last year, we've been working to support businesses of all sizes through the COVID-19 pandemic and its associated recovery. This has been an opportunity to rise to the occasion like only a long-standing leadership organization in this region could. Knowing that 75% of our members have fewer than 25 employees and 50% have fewer than 5, we understand that we provide critical capacity to many. And regardless of the size of your business or the sector in which you work, the pandemic has significantly impacted labor issues, human resource practices, public health behaviors, and your bottom line. In 2020, the power of collaboration was amplified as we worked with numerous regional partners, positively impacting those relationships and changing how we do business. Everything we do is in collaboration with a series of cross-sector stakeholders in the region, our localities, our legislators, our school systems, and most critically, you, our members. In 2021, our focus remains on small business development and entrepreneurship, legislative advocacy and education, and talent development. This year, however, we will approach them through the lens of continued economic recovery. Regarding small business development and entrepreneurship, in 2021, the Chamber is extremely proud to partner with the River District Association to build on their successful Entrepreneur Bootcamp and Pitch Competition Dream Launch. Rev Up Danville, Pennsylvania is for aspiring and current entrepreneurs and small business owners who wish to locate in Pittsylvania County or outside of the River District in the city of Danville. Thanks to the City of Danville's Office of Economic Development and the Dan River Region Entrepreneur Ecosystem, we will award $50,000 in grant funds at the Rev Up Pitch Competition in April. Regarding legislative advocacy and education, the Chamber will continue to provide unique access to local, state, and federal candidates and elected officials throughout the year, a critical need as we move through our region's economic recovery. Whether with our state delegation at Coffee with Legislators or an Innovation Council event with Senator Kane, the Chamber is committed to ensuring that your voice is heard. And regarding talent development, the COVID-19 pandemic has amplified the war for talent, and we know that a diverse workforce is a strong indicator of higher productivity and increased profitability. The Chamber's focus on wealth building and workplace equity will provide members with strategies and resources for attracting, cultivating, engaging, and retaining the best. And speaking of talent, I would be remiss if I did not recognize the extraordinary talent we have at the Chamber. First, I want to acknowledge Donna Ashworth and Rachel Covington. While no longer with the Chamber, both made tremendous contributions throughout their years, and we would not have been able to support you, our members, as comprehensively in 2020 without their commitment to our members and to the Dan River region. Further, I look forward to introducing you to Christy, Danielle, and Maddie. I couldn't be more excited about our new team and how together we can positively impact our region's growth. We look forward to partnering with you this year as our region emerges stronger together. While we know that we alone cannot guarantee your success, your Chamber board and staff remain committed to you, knowing that what we can guarantee is the right business climate for you to succeed. Thank you.
The Institute is a proud member of the Chamber of Commerce because it gives us access to all the programs that they do, and that benefits us, our staff, as well as projects that we're involved in, sometimes even outside the community, where people can tie into Chamber events because of relationships we have with those clients. The Institute is proud to be a member of the Chamber of Commerce because our missions align. We are both out to improve the community in a variety of ways, and so it just makes perfect sense that we collaborate together in this area.
Good morning, and thank you again. I believe we have some slides showing pictures of our new board members, so I'll let the staff get to that. As I'd mentioned before, Kevin Palmer with Infinity Global and Charlie Vaden with Columbia Forest Products. Also, we continue to recognize our staff and the talent that they bring to the table. These are our new staff members, and we welcome them and look forward, very much look forward to working with them in the future. And again, just like to thank them for everything that they're doing to make the chamber successful. You know, people ask me why I choose to be part of a local chamber of commerce. For me and for American National, we just consider it a best business practice. I know some people tend to consider the chamber as a do-gooder for the community, and of course they are. You know, they're always sharing the good news and pointing out the best attributes of our community, and rightly so. You know, we've got a lot to be proud of in the Danville, Pennsylvania County region. A lot of things have happened, positive things, in spite of the issues that we've been facing during the pandemic. And while the chamber will always help to tell our region's story, that's just one small part of the value that they bring to the region. When you think about it, our most valuable resource is you, our members, the people who are connected with the chamber, along with our networks that we build locally, regionally, and statewide. You know, your chamber membership investment allows our team to build these relationships, to grow partnerships, to develop collaborations that build a stronger and more viable business community. And because of these relationships, our business community has access to great leadership, to talent development, to best practices, to growth strategies, to innovative advancements, and a host of other business needs that come up daily. You've already heard about some of those. But just consider the ways that the chamber might be able to help you. You know, if you need a contact in Richmond for an issue that you're facing, well, our chamber can help with that. If you're planning to expand your business into a new community, let the chamber know. They can help make connections for you. Do you have questions about recent business legislation at the state or national level? Well, Alexis is closely involved with that, and she can help assist with those questions. Do you want to pull together a group to get to know each other and start building relationships across sectors? Well, the chamber helps with that as well. You know, the chamber's here to be our partner, our advocate, and our biggest cheerleader. You know, our businesses are judged day in and day out on our transactional successes, the customers we serve, the revenues coming in and out, and the goods going out. But our chamber believes, as do I, that, you know, how we do business, how we relate to each other and depend on our connections will be just as important for future success and the impact we can have on our community. You know, I fully believe that we're stronger together, and the Danville, Pennsylvania County Chamber of Commerce is proud to build these connections, to foster innovation, to provide resources that we need to meet the challenges of a 21st century economy, and the catalytic leadership that our speakers mentioned that is needed to be successful in that. So in closing, again, I would like to thank our event sponsors, our innovation partners, and I would also challenge you as members of the chamber to engage, take full advantage of your investment so that we can build a better community. Later today, our annual report will be published on our chamber website, and that website is shown at the bottom of your slide there. And annual report is circled under the About the Chamber issue tab. And with that, I would like to thank you for your time and support, and we are adjourned. Thanks again.